everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Comedy Crowd, where we attempt to bring you funny filtered
from life's crowd.
Mr. Ed, do you like...
Nope.
Ed, that is 2 episodes in a row that you have answered my question with no before I have even asked the question. Why are you doing that?
Law of averages.
What does that mean?
It means that just about 9 out of 10 questions that you ask me, the answer is no. So I am just saving time.
Well, Ed, I appreciate your conservation of time, but it's not necessary for purposes of this show.
What is this, Mr. Productivity skipping out on the conservation of time?
No, I'm not skipping out on it. I'm just saying that your number assessment of my questions to your answers is inaccurate.
All right, cowboy. I'll prove it. What's your question?
Do you like
Nope.
What do you have against trains?
Number 1, there is a train track that runs through the middle of my cornfield. Do you have any idea how much extra work that stupid train track causes?
No, I guess I do not. What's the second reason?
Remember when I said I start my day at 3:30 a.m. every morning?
Yeah, I remember.
My day starts that early because of that darn train. Loud whistle and shaking of the house.
If you don't like trains, then I guess you don't like westerns.
Do I look like a cowboy?
Well, no, Ed, you don't. But everybody likes trains.
Not everybody. This is an untrue statement.
Why not, Ed? Trains are rich in history.
And pollution.
They are one of the first modes of public transportation.
Too many stops.
They are relaxing with the clickety-clack of the train tracks.
Too loud.
Good grief, Ed. Tell me how you really feel.
We don't have that kind of time.
Wow. Do you like to explore?
Why?
Because exploring is exciting. It's an abundance of learning experience. It brings you closer to nature.
Dude, I'm a farmer. I'm knee-deep in nature 18 hours per day. I don't have time for any more excitement.
Oh, Ed, you are missing out. As an only child, by the 7th grade, my love for exploration was borderline obsession. I drove my 10-speed to work at the pharmacy every day after school, and my 10-speed bicycle was my passport to freedom and independence.
I don't have a passport. I don't like to travel.
I said all of that, and all you heard was passport. Your selective hearing is juvenile.
Well, your lack of hearing is aggravating.
I don't have a lack of hearing. And you say I am...
Telling a story. Yes, please, tell your story.
Well, while I loved exploring, being the only child, my home life was less than desirable.
I would have loved to be an only child.
No, you wouldn't. Trust me. Why would you say that? I would have loved to have had a brother or a sister.
Yes, 1, not 12 brothers and sisters. Why do you think I am a farmer?
I thought it was because it was the family business.
Well, it is, but that's not why I do it. I do it because as a kid, I was always starving to death. But as a farmer, I always have plenty to eat.
Wow, Ed, I had no idea.
Nobody does. I don't like to talk about it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, most of my home life was spent as a human remote control.
How could you be a remote control? That's impossible.
No, unfortunately it is not. For those of you not old enough to have had the pleasure of having a television without a remote control, allow me to elaborate.
Denied.
What do you mean denied?
You do not have to elaborate everything.
When you are telling a story, yes you do.
No, you don't.
Yes you do. If you were fortunate enough to have a television back then, it weighed about 200 pounds. Unless it was encased inside a wooden cabinet, then it weighed about 400 pounds.
Why would anybody want a 400-pound TV?
Back then, that is all that was available. The technology we have today was not available yet.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You were older than dirt.
Very funny. On the front of this thing was a giant knob that, if turned manually, allowed you to change the channel. And in my dad's mind, that was the perfect unpaid job for a prepubescent teenager.
What is pre-public, pre-pubic, pre-pubis? What's that mean?
It means a person whom has not gone through puberty yet. Oh my God. You don't know what puberty means, do you? It's all right, Ed. I got you, man. Puberty is that period of time before a man or a woman reaches maturity, biologically speaking. Some people never reach maturity.
Why not?
Dude, women all over the world are asking that very same question.
Wait, was that an answer? If so, I missed it.
No, you didn't. You're not mature enough yet.
Wait, I'm a grown-ass man.
Most men are. Grown, I mean. Just not grown up.
That makes no sense to me.
Why would it? My dad's favorite thing to watch was westerns. Hence my love for wearing western clothing, seeing as how I'm not a bull rider nor a rancher.
I thought you were a rancher. You have a dog.
If that is your idea of a joke, I forgot to laugh, but keep trying.
They didn't.
The thing that impressed me the most about westerns was how the cowboys would jump on the train from their horses and run across the top of the train. They made it look so easy.
Not to mention fake.
There is nothing fake about a western. Most of them were filmed before the advancements of technology. So I thought if they can do it, so can I. How hard could it be?
For them, professional actors and stunt people, not hard at all. For 7th grade you, mission impossible.
Thank you for your support, Ed.
You're welcome.
You disgust me.
Why is that?
Because the answer to how hard it could be turned out to be quite painful.
Of course it did.
What is that supposed to mean?
Do you know what I was doing in the 7th grade after school?
I shudder to think.
I was plowing a field helping my family plant crops, but you were trying to jump on trains and had a full-time job after school. That's not normal, man.
Why, sure it is. Everybody has a job as a kid.
Yeah, taking the trash out to the curb for an allowance. You were delivering prescription drugs to the elderly and stocking shelves. I got news for you. Your life may make for some good comedy material, but it is a long, long way from normal. What is wrong, cowboy? You look like the ghost of Christmas past.
I'm suddenly questioning my entire life.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Why is that?
You may not like the answer. Go ahead with your story. Maybe that will take your mind off of it.
We lived in a town that had a train track right through the middle of it. And as luck would have it, the train would pass through town every day at 6 p.m.
At least it wasn't at 3:30 a.m.
What?
Oh, nothing.
Every day after school, I would ride my 10-speed bicycle the 7 miles to the mom and pop pharmacy that I worked at, delivering prescription drugs to the elderly.
Isn't that illegal?
Apparently not in a small town.
Did you like your job being a kid and all?
Yes, I liked the job. It made me feel like a man. Except the pharmacy owner would not let me ride my own bicycle. He made me ride the company's big green single-speed Schwinn with a basket on it for deliveries.
What is wrong with that? You're probably the only guy in the world that had a company car at the age of 12.
I would not call it a company car.
Was it yours?
No.
I rest my case.
If there were no deliveries to be made, I would sweep the floors, stock the shelves, fill the vending machines, and things like that until about 5:45 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. And I'd work all day on Saturday.
Your parents let you do this?
My parents were workaholics, man. They were never home.
Well, that explains a lot.
Anyway, on one end of town, the land was flat and level, and the train track ran alongside the road. But as you go to the center of town, the land elevation changed, but the train track remained flat and level through a dugout canal.
What are you doing?
I'm telling the story.
What story? Just a minute ago you were talking about your job at the pharmacy. Now you're talking about land surveying.
No, I'm not. I'm setting up the train wrangling story.
You have got to be kidding. So you are going to jump on the train and run across the roof because you saw it on a movie?
Well, yeah, why not?
You're an idiot.
You are jumping ahead of my story.
I'm not jumping. That's all you.
In the center of town were these high-rise bridges that went over the canal, connecting one side of town to the other. So one Saturday afternoon, I got off at 5 p.m., and I decided I was going to try out my train wrangling skills.
Maybe in the movies.
What do you mean, maybe in the movies?
In the movies, it is a skill. For you as a 7th grader, it's stupidity.
Just be quiet, Ed. Let me tell the story.
All right, this should be good.
I rode my 10-speed to the east end of town and entered the canal. Then I walked my bike to this giant silver metal box that was located beside the track about in the center of town.
What is in the box?
I don't know, Ed. I'm not a conductor.
No, director. You're the director.
Ed, shh. The next town was only 15 miles away. So I figured I would ride the train to the next town and hop off as it slowed down going through the railroad crossings.
You're one crazy cowboy.
I parked my bike behind the silver metal box so that the conductor would not see someone on the tracks.
Why hide? You should have a stick with a bandana on it like a hobo.
That's not funny, Ed. Anyway, the anticipation was killing me. But finally 6 p.m. came and I heard that magic whistle.
That wasn't a train whistle. It was an idiot alarm.
Just stop it. Would you please?
Okay.
I waited until the engine and about 4 or 5 cars passed. Then I spotted my target handle and I ran to it and grabbed a hold.
What happened?
Well, I did not anticipate the speed at which the train was traveling, and my feet began to drag along those white, jagged rocks that accompany most railroad tracks. Soon, the pain of my legs being dragged through the rocks diminished my grip on the handrail and I let go.
How fast was it going?
I can personally and 100% attest that a 95-pound body can slide 32 feet on a bed of rocks while traveling at 35 miles per hour. The train passed, never knowing it had just been attacked by an idiot.
Oh, it knew.
As I laid there torn, tattered, and bleeding, I finally got up, but now I had to walk back to my bike and pedal the 7 miles back to my house. Then explain to my parents how come I look like a bruised turd.
Did you tell them this story? Of course you didn't. Why would you? And who would believe you? So, are you done?
You would think that that would be the end of my train wrangling days. Well, you could think it, but you would be wrong.
You have got to be kidding.
I wish. As the days went by, I could not get over the enormous failure of my first train wrangling attempt. I decided that this time I needed a plan. I spent about 2 weeks watching more westerns while recovering from my first attempt, and this time I drew a map.
Don't you mean suicide note?
No, I'm not trying to commit suicide. I figured since I cannot run 35 miles per hour, it would be easier to board the train if I jumped onto it from a bridge.
Your parents must be so proud.
Shut up, Ed. My map diagrammed the entire plan on a sheet of notebook paper, and to this 7th grader, it was brilliant, if I do say so myself.
I bet your life insurance policy was huge.
Ed, you are not helping.
I take it back. I'm glad I was not the only child because I would have survived some of the stupid stuff you have done.
Like any trained professional will tell you, I felt as though I had to research my plan before its execution.
You are not a professional.
For 3 days, I sat atop the bridge and watched the train pass. Then looked at my paper, watched the train, then looked at my paper. By the end of day 3, I was convinced that the plan was going to work.
Land you in the hospital.
In the middle of this train was usually about 5 to 7 grain cars. That was to be my targeted landing spot.
Launch pad.
It was approximately 16 feet from the top of the bridge to the top of the grain car. And most grain cars were about 14 feet tall, for a total of 30 feet from the top of the bridge to the ground.
Evidently, your fear gene is in neutral and your stupid gene is in 6th gear.
Ed, I'm not stupid. But unfortunately, the laws of physics had not been introduced to this 7th grader. But they are about to be.
Most people that do not understand the laws of physics do not go jumping off a bridge at an oncoming train.
Ed, please stop. I was a kid.
You and I have had entirely different childhoods.
Back then, most businesses were closed on Sundays. And if anyone witnessed a guy standing on a bridge about to jump, it would cause suspicion.
Idiot.
What?
On top of the bridge.
Dude, if you don't like my story, you need to tune me out and be quiet.
Is Comedy Crowd going to be offered in closed caption?
Ed, that's enough. Since the entire town was so scarce with people on Sundays, and the entire town would be at church, I knew that Sunday would be my only shot for Train Wrangling Part 2. What, Ed? What?
I cannot believe you would attempt suicide on the Lord's Day.
Ed, I am still here. I'm telling this story. What are you doing?
Making sure you're not Memorex.
I played sick one Sunday morning, and I rode my bike to town and parked it behind the pharmacy and walked to the bridge, and sure enough, there was not a soul in sight. Then I heard it, the train whistle. Oh boy, here we go.
At least once anyway.
Now the train was traveling from east to west, which meant the train was coming towards me.
I can't watch this.
Watch what, Ed? We're talking.
This visual will be disturbing.
I'll tell you what's disturbing, and that is you. Anyway, the train approached. I spotted my grain car, and without any hesitation at all, I jumped. Ed, open your eyes. You look stupid.
Better to be alive and stupid than brave and dead.
I landed exactly in the middle of that grain car, just like I drew on paper.
You sketched your own suicide. I'll bet the police loved you.
Ed, you are acting ridiculous. This is just a story, loosely based on true events.
Yeah, a horror story.
Wow. Anyway, what wasn't on my paper was the part where I bounced off the grain car and fell the remaining 14 feet with enough velocity to bounce twice. Do you have any idea how much velocity it takes to bounce once?
No. How much does it take?
Good grief. In hindsight, if I had jumped off the bridge on the other side while the train was going away from me, I might have been successful.
I doubt it. Dude, don't leave them hanging. What happens?
Well, I didn't pick myself up and ride home after this one. I had to be fished out of the canal by emergency personnel and spent several days in the hospital recovering.
Were you hurt?
Yes, Ed, I was hurt pretty bad. I decided that after train wrangling take 2 was a failure, that walking on the top of a train was just not that important to me after all.
You think?
Okay, Ed, I'm sure you have had some accidents in your history, like That so-called accident when you got your head stuck in the irrigation ditch?
I told you that was not my fault.
Then whose fault was it?
Oddly enough, it was that darn train track that runs through the middle of my cornfield.
Oh, this should be good.
Well, the people that laid the track in our field put these large steel-lined concrete drainage pipes under the track
Why?
so that the water could go from one field to the other underneath the track.
Who were the people?
You're doing this on purpose.
Yep.
There was a pump about 20 feet from the train track that would launch a 16-foot stream of water out the 4-inch pipe to feed the irrigation canal.
Why?
Because the rocks on the edge of the train track would roll off into the irrigation canal due to the vibration and clog the 2-inch drainage pipe on each side of the track.
What a drag.
Not yet, but it's going to be.
Why is that?
Well, I had moved the rocks out of the drainage pipes and was told to open the pump by unscrewing the end cap off the pipes so the water could flow, which I had never done before.
What do you mean you've never done it before?
I know. The workers always did that part anyway. As I was walking to the pump, they told me to make sure I turned the pump off first. But I didn't hear that because the train's whistle was going off when they told me that.
Okay, go on. I like where this is headed.
I thought you would. Anyway, when I unscrewed the end cap off of the 4-inch pipe, the water pressure from the pipe shot me all the way to the drainage pipe and stuck my head in the mud wedged into the pipe. What is so funny? I came close to drowning.
The visual.
What visual?
The one in my head with overalls kicking out the end of a drain pipe.
Dude, stop laughing.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. How deep was the water?
In the irrigation canal?
Yeah.
About 2 to 3 inches, I think. Would you stop?
Okay. Okay.
Thank God. Ladies and gentlemen, that sound means it's time for the Manure Minute segment of our show.
That's right, Mr. Ed. So, what do we have this week?
Well, while Cowboy Ken tries to pull himself together, we have another question for Cowboy Ken. Kristen from Florida writes, Cowboy Ken, how did you meet your co-host?
Well, Kristen, James works for a pest control company and had come to our house to give us a quote on pest control services. While performing the duties of his job, he began to ask questions about the pictures on the wall in my office and the fact that there's a green screen studio in my house, which led him to telling me we need to talk. And I think the audience would appreciate hearing from Mr. Ed himself as to why he wanted to work on this project. So, Mr. Ed, if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, that means he's going to put me in the hot seat, so here I go. I really like being able to come in and be somebody different for a while. It gives you a break from reality, and me seeing this being in and out of acting and writing, and I thought I was done. And he had this idea he's been trying to get together for a long time. It was in and out, in and out. And we started talking, and he's given me that shot, and I'm giving him the opportunity to do what he wants to do in love, and he's let me do what I want to do in love. So this is pretty much how the story has come together.
Well, thank you for those comments, Mr. Ed. It has been a pleasure working with you on Comedy Corral.
Ladies and gentlemen, this comment came from our email address, which is cowboykenproductions@gmail.com. So send your comments and questions in care of the Manure Minute to the email address above, and you could win a free t-shirt if we use your comment or question on the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of Comedy Crowd. And remember, when life gets crappy, find the funny.
And be happy.